Yeah, it's like a whole different ball game, man.
Yeah, it's super weird. This is awesome. I love this.
Yeah,
and I love like getting to meet in person and
it's good to finally meet you, man.
Dude, you're the man.
You know how a mic works, right?
Yeah, I got you. I even brought my own headphones. I was like, I don't know if he does cans, but I was like,
I could totally do.
We don't have to unless it's better for you.
We can't do it now. But like, I thought about getting because I only have one output. But I couldn't
interface.
I'm like, I don't know if I really want headphones. Like, do you really think they're that crucial to a podcast?
I don't think so. At least in this space, we can hear each other, talk to each other, or whatever. And it's not like a lot of, I don't think there's a lot of bleed over or anything like that. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, I know people say like it like locks you in. That's for sure.
I feel locked in. My phone's on Do Not Disturb, you know?
Oh, shit, yeah. Let me do that too real quick before we get into it.
I'm just in podcast mode. I had two already today where I was interviewing. So I was like, I know the deal.
Oh, so now you get to chill.
That's right, man. I don't have to worry about what questions I'm going to ask you, other than my actual like curiosity questions. You know, just like, who's this Bruce Allen mother trucker? No,
yeah, it's always chill being on the other side.
Yeah, this is great, man.
Yeah,
How long have you been in the space?
So this actually isn't my space at all.
Oh, okay.
So this is my homie Amir's, and this is called Homme D.C.
Okay.
So it's like an art gallery meets like boutique, but mostly art gallery.
Yeah.
And he does like a lot of like functions, events, and then I do this on Wednesdays. So it's just all over the place over here. Yeah.
That's so cool.
So
yeah.
So now I just have a key and he lets me in.
Dude, that's ideal right there, man.
Right?
I love it. Dude, this is so cool.
Yeah, it's got a whole vibe. I feel like people watching can't see it, but there's totally like a bunch of really sick, tattoo-inspired wood panels around.
Yeah. No, 100%.
They'll probably be in the thumbnail or something. But whatever.
Yeah. Tribal art, whatever.
Yeah. Well, what's up, guys? Welcome back to That's the Angle. Today, I am joined by Mason, or Mason Photography, as you might know him.
Yeah. What's up, man? It's good to be here.
Yeah, man. It's good to have you on. So, wait, so you said you just got off doing 2 podcasts?
Yeah. So I have my own podcast called The Bearded Tog, where it's primarily, I just wanted to have conversations about what it's like to build a business. And as somebody who's like doesn't have a business degree, I wanted to like the real conversation behind it. So I mostly interview photographers, with other business people I admire, people I'm curious about. And just like today we had a National Geographic photographer on. And
no way.
Yeah, it was awesome. She's incredible. But my number one question was like, I felt kind of lame for her, but I was kind of like, what does it mean to be signed by Nat Geo, right? Like,
that's like what every photographer wants, is you want to be Nat Geo. Like, at least back in the day, it was 100%, like, I want to be a Nat Geo photog.
Totally. Yeah. Pre-Instagram, I think that was your goal. And so I was kind of curious just about like, how do you make money? Is it a contract? Is it a retainer?
What'd she say?
So she essentially said that it's a lot more difficult than I thought. So she, for the most part, and this could be just for her, but she's one of the big ones. Like she has to put together a budget for a certain project that interests her and then pitch it to Nat Geo.
Oh, well, so it's like she comes up with everything. There's no assignments or anything.
Yeah, whereas press is more assignments, fashion more assignments. Like I have a buddy that works for the Washington Post, and it's kind of like he'll get a call the night before, like, hey, you're going to California. And we're like, all right, I guess I'm going to California, which is cool. Whereas her thing was like, very DIY, and then Nat Geo can decide to like invest in that project. And there's conversation. I imagine she didn't allude to this, but about deliverables, like, hey, what are we actually going to get? And I guess her being like consistently on there was, they probably know like what they're looking for and have a conversational aspect versus like if you were or at least for me, like being new, I'd be like, I have all these questions, what do you want? And so, yeah, it was really kind of insightful, cause it's just, everybody makes money in different ways.
Is she an older photographer or is she like a younger photographer?
I want to say in the middle. I think she's between 48 or 50.
Oh, see, because that's totally that generation who was like, I want to be a Nat Geo photographer.
Oh, yeah.
Every photog's like, I just want 10K.
Right. That's all I want. Like, I just want to swipe up right now. I'm lazy.
Yeah, it's completely changed. It's so different.
Nobody wants to go to your bio. No, just kidding. Your bio is dead. You can put anything there and nobody's going to go to it.
Dude, that's so crazy because I feel like that's such a dead magazine. Like, no offense to her, but like, I feel like that medium, like the travel, that's like the one magazine I can think of that does the travel photography. It's like,
I think her thing is, and maybe the reason it's like still working for her, but I know it's definitely a grind. That's like the impression I got from her is it's not a luxury. It's not a golden, web that's catching her, was that, was like it's cause based, for her. Like she's more interested in what's happening.
The window shut itself. That was so freaky. It was like someone banged down the window.
Terrifying. It was the ghost of Nat Geo. No.
Talking shit about Nat Geo, dog.
Yeah, exactly. But she cared more about the causes, you know, and then like if she can, it's one of those things where if she can make a living off of what she's passionate about. So I think that helped a little bit, you know, like
like right now. So
she's still doing stuff, even though it's not for the magazine.
Like right now, there's always some like crazy political shit going on. They could always cover.
So, I mean,
like the China protests, dude, those look insane.
It looks it's a lot of people.
Like the triads, it seems like some video game, but literally there's triad like gang members out there attacking the protesters. And
they're like dressed up, right?
Yeah. And then the protesters are attacking them back. Now I'm just like, what the heck is going on?
Dude, I always say we're like one bad decision away from that movie The Purge, you know, or like something like that, where it's just like, oh, it's about to get guerrilla.
Well, dude, they're in like a unique situation. Like, I don't know too much. Do you know a lot about what's going on over there?
Only a sliver. That the laws and government between Hong Kong and China as a whole, and as we think of it, are different because Hong Kong's like its own territory.
It's owned by Britain. And so
that's crazy.
And so like 100 years ago or something, Britain was like, all right, 100 years in the future, AKA 2020.
Yeah.
The city of Hong Kong is going to be turned over to China.
Oh.
And so now the crazy thing is like China outside of Hong Kong is like, I'm pretty sure, isn't like communist and stuff like that?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
100%.
So right now, people out there living like how we are, and they're like, holy shit, it's about to become a communist state. What is about to happen?
That makes sense.
That's why they're freaking out.
Dang. Yeah. I knew there was some different kind of law, and I knew that it was, going to be a different feel for them, and they were definitely like not into it. I thought it was similar to like state versus federal law. Like Hong Kong was like, no, we want to keep this ourselves. And so, no, that makes sense. That's insane.
Could you imagine being a photographer over there right now?
Dude, there are times when I like really want to, you know, like my buddies that do press, I'm always like, that seems so much more important to me than like photographing happy couples. It seems like I want the challenge, you know, like I want the street cred. But at the same time, you know, like those same buddies, they're like, yeah, to take like bulletproof vest training and gas mask training.
You gotta wear a helmet.
Yeah, you gotta wear a helmet to shoot, and a sign that says press, which like 20 years ago people gave a crap about and like wouldn't touch you, but now you can't trust anybody that says press, you know. And if you worked like for a blog, you could say like that's bad, you know.
Yeah,
it could be rough.
It could be the wrong press.
Right, 100%.
That's so crazy, man. Like, some part of me was looking at that video I was talking about, and I was like, yeah, it'd be so sick. But then I saw a press guy run up in the frame just like that, and they were like, and he was like, press. He was like pointing to himself, and I was like, and he still got a couple whippings, and I was like, dang,
that's terrifying. And at least in the States, I know we have a few, both on like the left and the right, red and the blue, where if they show up at the wrong protest, they like kind of, I don't know what it's called. I'm not into all the political terms.
Like an Antifa protest?
Yeah, or even the other side of things where it's like gaslighting or whatever, and they're like trying to get people to mess with them. Yeah, they're trying to get people to mess with them.
Oh,
you know,
like trying to
but like press would never do that. You know, like official journalism rules. You know, the traditions say that you don't do that.
That'd be pretty badass. So if you're like the press who went and provoked and just got the most epic shots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's scary. It's like,
that's so messed up.
Whereas like you and I could go there, we're not press. Like not that we don't have integrity, but we don't have journalistic integrity. You know, and we're not required by our profession to have that. So it's like, oh, we could do whatever, you know, and I don't know if we would, but it's for journalists, old school journalists, they would never do that. But I feel like new school, like again, if you run the right blog or you run the right Twitter account, you could do whatever you want. So
yeah, it's so interesting because like photography wise, what they do, it's like they're putting their lives out there, like essentially, especially in a place like China, like you're risking something.
Yeah,
like you say you shoot happy couples and weddings. I shoot like fashion whenever other gigs come my way.
Yeah.
And it's like there's zero risk. Like except for today, I was literally like taking photos on a construction site, and I had to wear a little mask. But
yeah,
it makes what we do seem so medial. Like
totally. Yeah, but I mean, my mortgage is very thankful. You know. Like so.
Dude, you must crush as a wedding photographer, man.
I feel okay. I mean, I feel super lucky. You know, the wedding industry in general is like occupied by a lot of ladies, which is totally fine. Because I mean, the industry, when people get married, like the bride, for the most part, traditionally in America, like leads the charge on booking stuff. But I feel like in DC specifically, and over the past 6 years that I've been here, I found my niche of couples who just want something different, and they still want to be taken care of like a luxury vendor, but they don't want it to feel like a hoity-toity experience.
Like they want like a good experience, but they don't want to feel like over the top, like they're about to spend like their whole year's check.
Yeah, and I think too, some of it, people feel weird about like, what will my family think if, and I'm this way too, like if I wanted to buy like a medium level BMW, like it's just a nice car, right? You know, it might be $50K. Well, let's say for the sake of argument, $50K, $60K, which is still a lot of money for a vehicle for a lot of people in America. But it's not like a Rolls, you know? And I think there are couples that want to, not to pigeonhole myself, but they want a luxury experience, but without the like fear of them, feeling like they have to have a Rolls, you know? And so I think I've had a lot of couples who are weird and quirky, and couples who, I always say, like, usually one of them is like wants to save the world, and the other one is like running a tech company. You know, it's like one of my couples, she helped out women in East Africa, and he worked for Uber, you know, for a long time, for like 10 years since they've started. So like, it's just, that's my ideal couple, is like people who are just like millennials and want to change the world, but like, most millennial couples don't want to have a wedding that celebrates them. They want to bring people together. They want a big party. And
that's so terrific. I think there has been kind of a movement towards like elope weddings.
Yeah, elopements are super huge. That's not my vibe yet. I would love to do it, you know, at the right place. But yeah, that's like the next thing is in the evolution of weddings. I feel like is a lot of couples who weddings are stressful, you know, but the things that matter, and I know this too as photographers, like the people and the photos are the only thing that you have left after that day. And so it's a weird perspective, but some couples just want to keep it simple. And
wedding photography is one of those things that's just so interesting, because it's like, it's one of those things which is a necessity amongst photography. Like a lot of photography isn't a necessity, but that definitely is. And people are so prepared to like ball out and to just pay for this thing to remember. It's just such a different environment. And when I look at wedding photographers, it's like you guys put so much emphasis on how it looks and like the presentation of yourself as a brand and everything.
Yeah, 100%.
Like the websites are, your guys' websites are amazing.
Thank you. It's a weird thing. I think, I heard this a few years ago from my wedding photographer, ironically, who said, you know, wedding photography is different because the first photo of the day might matter a lot, and the 3,000th photo of the day matters the same amount. And a lot of shoots just don't go that way. I mean, when I've done commercial shoots, our goal is to come up with like one photo that is for this marketing agency, or, you know, or a handful. And we have full control of that environment. We've spec'd out lights, location, staff, catering, whatever. And you know, for weddings, it is such the one thing I do enjoy about it, and I like rub elbows with my press people, is like,
hold up, this chick is wilding outside this window, dude.
They're having a tough day out there. That's
for guys listening. We're in like the basement when it's facing the street.
Oh, she's on the phone. I see her.
And it is this lady who legit sounds like Shaniqua, just popping off.
She don't live here no more.
I don't even know how else to say that.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
But
she FaceTime. I think we're in there. We're in their shop.
Oh really? She's literally outside the window.
Yeah, she's right out there, dude.
Wow, T. Welcome to DC, dude. Welcome to the quirkiest podcast you ever be on, right?
Dude, no, 100%. I feel like now that I moved to the studio, all my podcasts will sound like this. So I have like helicopters and ambulances and people yelling.
Dude, the street's crazy, man. There's like a homeless shelter down the block where they just give out free food or something like that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's a super good thing, but it you know, the audience, the people that come there need a lot of extra love, you know.
Everyone needs love, you know.
Yeah, they've been in a tough spot, so it's except this lady might not even be here. She's just chatting on her phone, so you know, it is.
For you though, you show love to like people who can actually afford your services.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
If you broke, you ain't getting no love from Mason.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where, yeah, luckily I feel like a few years ago I'd be like, I'll take anything, and now it is a luxury where I can like say no, or most of the time your pricing is like a filter, you know, to most couples, or just your style, your website. Like our styles and our websites, like people go on it, and hopefully some people will be like, oh, I don't like this at all, you know. And then the people that do are like, no, this is my ish, you know. Like my wife always makes fun of me, like, you ever hear that person, you're like going to visit New York or going to visit Philly or something like that, and they're like, bro, this is the cheese stick place. You know, if you like XYZ, if you like mayo, fried onions,
this is the spot. Like, you gotta eat exactly Five Guys or Dixie Bells or some shit.
100%. And for people, that's how we buy now. That's how millennials buy. They're like, you know what? Like, I really love this brand. I've been following them, or maybe I'm interested in them. They pick that brand rather than like, hey, I just need a car. Like, it gets me from A to B. Like, millennials don't want to choose in that kind of way when they're shopping. And so
you're saying they want to choose based on like a friend's recommendation or a recommendation or something that's been endorsed or something.
Yeah. Or just brands that they, going back to that basic thing of like, they know, like, and trust, you know, so if maybe they know and they're like, oh, this looks kind of cool. And then hopefully through marketing or part of your brand experience, like they find out more about you and they're like, you know what, like, I like this, versus like, we all follow somebody on Instagram and then like 2 days later, like, nah, that's not what I thought it was going to be. Unfollow, you know, which I think is totally fine. Like, you want people that are like die hard for you, you know, or like Seth Godin talks about like having like brand ambassadors, not just customers.
I love that concept.
Yeah. People who are like, nah, like you have to book this guy. This guy's the best. And that's super important for any brand, any business, really.
Dude, that's such an amazing concept. I think in life in general is like how many people are actually rooting for you. Like if someone was just mentioned like, oh yeah, I'm looking for a wedding photographer, and someone just happened to know you, but oh yeah, I know this guy named Mason. He's dope. Like, how many of those people do you really have in your life? And it's like, I'd hope a lot more than my hands can count. You know?
Yeah, no, totally. I think. You know, one, I would encourage you that there are people who aren't actively rooting for you, who are rooting for you, which I would encourage you with.
I've noticed that, yeah.
I'm one of those guys that like, I don't think there's anybody in my corner, and oftentimes my wife has to remind me, like, one, her, and then two, like, no, look at all these logical things that I could show you. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool. So no, it's important.
You do a great job at seeming like a good guy. Like I'm not like, I know how to say that. Like, I've never met you before I even like I met you when you walked around. I was like I feel like this is gonna be a really nice guy. like you do a really good job. Like and I feel like it's like a wedding photographer thing, or maybe it's just you as well. It's like it's like you are always portraying like this nice.
What's up?
You are definitely not a nice dude.
Yeah. We should have used that as like a curse cover up, and it'll be like, what the? And then
that sound like the SpongeBob curses.
Dude, 100%.
But no, like, it definitely seems like you definitely came off of like I had like a great impression of what you were going to be before I met you.
Sure. No, it's one, thank you, and then two, it's for me, I don't necessarily think I'm like trying to be a nice guy. But I do, my highest goal in life, and this is really weird, but like 5 or 6 years ago, I decided I wanted my highest goal in life to be consistent. And what I realized was that I never want to be something to Bruce or something to people online that I wasn't in real life. And obviously there are flavors, you know, people get sick, or, you know, you're having a little bit more excitement, or, you know, I know from when I podcast, if my guest is really exciting, I feed off of that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be consistent. I wanted to be, you know, reliable. I wanted to be a guy that, you know, would own up to what he said, have a lot of integrity. And that means a lot to me. And I think that's just kind of my vibe. And then I think in my business that comes out a lot, and couples know that. And I think couples, any clients or customers, they need to know that their vendors will go to bat for them if they need to. As long as the vendor is also like a quality vendor, you know, or the couple is a quality person too. So, yeah, I don't know. That's something I've never thought about, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, dude.
It's our first date, you know. So
but no, it's like that's just good life motto right there. Like,
sure,
just I want to be a consistent person. Like consistency, I think, is one of the most important things to like achieve anything, whether it's friendships, relationships, whatever it is. Like consistency over time is, I think, like the recipe to success. Like when I think about consistency, I mean, like how many photographers have you known that just don't exist anymore, that were around literally like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, just gone.
People just roll out. And I mean, it's tough. I think in that consistency mindset for me, it even is like, you know, knowing what to expect. Like, hey, when can I get a hold of Adam? Or what is Adam's reaction going to be to this? And I think when I was a younger man, I just turned 30 in January. When I was a younger man, my goal was to be unpredictable. You know, I was like, I don't want anybody to feel like they know me. And that was just dumb. It was stupid. And it was like just prideful. And so recently, you know, the past few years, my goal has just been like, you know what, I can expect this from Adam. And even like we all have those friends who like don't text us back, but we're like, I know we're friends. I always text back. I like texting in general. If anything, I will like turn my phone off, do not disturb during the day when I'm trying to get work done. But I always text back. And I always DM back. No, you and I are good at DMing. And so I feel
like to do what we do, you have to be very instantaneous with things.
Yeah. And just, it's everybody converses differently. But, you know, for me, I have a lot of friends that like maybe they won't text during the week when they're working, but they'll text you back on the weekend and they'll like catch up. And I just like knowing what to expect. And I want people to.
But that's weird. People like who do that, like if you got a text on Tuesday and you're replying until Friday or Saturday,
that's super weird.
You got a problem, bro. Like that is super weird.
Yeah, especially if you're like actually friends. You know, it's not like somebody's trying to book an appointment. It's just like, hey, how's your week or what's going on? Yeah. So no, I get that. You know, yeah, 24 hours at least, 48 hours, unless you're going through some shit. You know.
Yeah, and even then, it's like you come back like, yeah, dude, sorry, I just couldn't freaking.
Totally. Yeah. Exactly.
See, so when you got into like, how many years have you been a wedding photographer first off?
My first wedding was in 2011. So
whoa,
I mean, it depends. Like when you like, I've been full time. I've been a full time photographer for 4 years now. But I mean, every year since I've been in DC, at least I do like 20 weddings a year at least.
Wow.
You know, so it just depends.
I made such an exclamation there because I meet very few photographers in specific who have been doing it for that long.
Yeah, no, totally. I got my first camera in 2010. And yeah, just kind of, it was one of those things for me where I was not expecting it to be my profession. It was just something I enjoyed doing, and I had a really powerful experience from basically living with another photographer in another country, and it was really cool for me. And so I was like, oh.
What happened?
So I got kicked out of college.
Whoa, how'd that happen?
Yeah. I went to a very small conservative Christian college, and basically I wasn't even planning to go. I was just ready to be a mechanic in Southern Delaware and like fix cars.
Damn.
Yeah. I was like not even bleak. Wasn't even on my radar. A lot of people don't make it out. You know, I say make it out like from where I'm from. And I wasn't planning on it either. And, you know, like I didn't even take the SATs. I did nothing. Wow. But I had been playing guitar for over half my life at that point, and classical guitar, and got a scholarship to college.
You're playing real guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was talking to my wife the other day. I was like, I also played in metal bands. That was like my passion was heavy metal. So, yeah. And so I went to college for 2 years, but again, I was a guy who like wasn't planning on going to school. My parents had never been to college. And so I was just a fish out of water and like how things worked. And I was at this conservative Christian college. And at the time, you know, my like faith definitely aligned with a lot of what they were talking about. But in how to like line up those things, it was very difficult. And I mean, you're college, you're 18, you're not around your parents and stuff. So,
yeah, you got to figure out a bunch of weird legal things and papers and stuff like that yourself.
Right. Exactly. And then that college had like specific rules. So like you couldn't share a dorm. It couldn't be in the same dorm with the opposite sex other than 3 hours every other Saturday with the door open.
Whoa.
So just crazy stuff. We had a curfew, had to be in by 1 a.m.
Are you sure it's Christian? It's not like Mormon?
Yeah. No, it was evangelical. Yeah. I could go. That's a whole other podcast. So yeah. And so, you know, I basically just disobeyed certain school rules, and then again, like,
but you didn't like, I don't know, like punch your teacher in the face. It was something stupid, like you were in a room or hanging out with a friend too late.
100%. Yeah. So it's stuff that like anybody, if they actually heard it, we'll talk about this privately off podcast. Yeah. If anybody heard it, they would be like, are you for real? But at the same time, you know, that's the school's rules and that's their thing. And, you know, I was kind of like the person that was easy to punish. Like it looked good. You know, like, oh, we brought this kid in on the scholarship, you know, and now he's
they
weird.
Kind of made you like the poster child for what it was.
So, yeah, I got kicked out, and I was kind of
kicked out for a blowjob. No,
yeah. Went back to Delaware, and I was just like, what can I do? And I was kind of like, I felt like I was being selfish. And so I was like, well, what can I do? And so I got an internship with an organization overseas that does like humanitarian compassion work. And so I moved to Moldova in Eastern Europe and lived there for 2 months. Mostly like teaching in schools. Like we talked about like health and hygiene, and I always taught on like self-esteem, which is funny because I'm pretty Debbie Downer, but you know, and then we just did a lot of like food distribution to different villages and stuff. And so, but we did all of that under the instruction of a missionary who was a photographer. And he just had his camera with him all the time. And this isn't new to anybody else, but for me, he was shooting photos of people who had never had their photo taken before, who didn't own a mirror, who their visual identity, like you and I checked ourselves in the mirrors before we left, right? Like, and some Americans, we do it all the time, and it's not weird.
It's like a normal thing. Check yourself in a mirror probably at least 5 times a day.
100%. And our appearance, we're not even as strict with it as other, Western cultures, different European cultures and stuff. But like, we want to make sure that we look okay.
Make sure your hair's sitting right, at least for me. Make sure your beard's fluffed correctly.
Exactly. It's got to look fresh. So, so that was just crazy to me. And then the additional side of it was because they had never seen what they looked like. Maybe they passed a mirror, maybe they had an opportunity, but it wasn't often. He would show them photos of themselves, either print them for them or show them the back of his camera.
It's gonna be mind blowing.
Yeah, just the interaction there was like, it was so cool. And for a lot of people that on that trip, it made them, for lack of better words, feel better about life and about themselves, and like, oh, this is who I am, and that was so cool. And so I was like, whoa. And
you gotta have those crazy experiences to meet people like that to make you feel 100%. Like my life's pretty goddamn good.
Yeah, perspective is everything. It's just like every person and business is an iceberg. I always say this. It's like you only see the top 10%, and you don't know what's going on in the other 90. So people might see you and I and be like, oh, Bruce and Adam, they're really successsul. But then at the same time, like, hey, yeah, but our families are going through some stuff.
I've been calling you Mason this whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mason Photography is just my last name. That's just my company name, but yeah.
Oh shit. What's up, guys? Welcome back to That Single. Here with Adam Photography.
No, it's all good. I kind of just let it roll. And people in college used to call me Mason all the time. And I was kind of like, whatever. And I just got to let it roll. So, but I get the funniest messages and DMs that are just like, what's up, Mason? And I'm always kind of like, what's going on, but it's,
dude, Adam Mason, that's a good one. That's like that. You're the first other photographer who has like a good 2-name kind of brand. Bruce Allen, Adam Mason, like, ooh,
let's go. Yeah.
Some good rings. Dude.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone wants to see 2 white guys with cool names doing anything. But
where were we in this story?
Yeah. So I went overseas, saw this cool photographer, and, I was impacted. And so I finished the internship, went back home, saved all my money, doing odd jobs, and bought a camera, and then was doing landscaping later that summer, and got the call to, I remember I'd play guitar. A buddy's band was going on tour, and they needed a second guitarist, and they were like, hey, can you come fill in? And I was like, when do you need me? And they were like, we leave in 48 hours. Can you learn 12 songs? And I was like, yeah, I got you. So they FedEx shipped me, overnighted me a DVD of like how to play their songs, and so I learned the songs, drove up to Massachusetts to start the tour, practiced for a day, and then went on tour with them and brought my camera. And I didn't even know how blessed I was to have the access I did, when we were playing shows with other bands, and we weren't one of the headliners, but we get to be with pretty solid bands. And our last show was this huge festival, which was like probably 40, 50,000 people. And I just had my camera with me, and it was so cool. And it's still a hobby, but I got a lot of access up front, just in the first few.
You got backstage and everything with that.
Yeah, 100%.
Sweet shots.
So it was cool. And I mean, shooting concerts was like super challenging, especially being in a metal band. It's not bright. I shot Rascal Flatts once, and I was like, ISO 400, this is amazing. Whereas like metal bands, it's like ISO 10,000, here we go.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we're hoping for the best. And so it was really fun. And I both loved music and then loved doing photography. And so kept doing that. And long story short, ended up going back to school just to get that degree, try and get that piece of paper.
For photography or for something else?
Yeah, I ended up going back for like digital media and communications. Okay. There's like 2 photography classes in it, but it was really good because I got a lot of like PR classes and writing classes. I would never normally pursue that information by myself.
There's a lot more copywriting in digital media than you think there would be.
Dude, everybody hates writing about themselves on their about section of their site. Like that's why, it's just like, oh, what do I write here? And, all kinds of stuff. And even now, like I'm diving into like ads for fun. And I'm like, what do I write here that doesn't sound cheesy, but will also get my client, so it's definitely a skill, and it's as an entrepreneur, you always find out like what your good skills are and what your bad skills are. And so maybe it's good time management, good at shooting, good at making money, but you're like, oh, I'm bad at client follow-up. I'm bad at this thing. And so
just honest questions you got to ask yourself.
Yeah. So long story short, I went back to school and got my degree. I was shooting pretty much like on the side all the time for random jobs and trying to make money and trying not to have a real job, quote unquote. I was just like, all right, I just need money to pay for my cell phone bill and whatever. And and then that call came from a friend that was like, hey, can you shoot our wedding? And I was like, I've never shot a wedding before. I've shot one time of portraits of my best friend, and their dog.
And some events.
Yeah, but until then, I'd never shot any people. My favorite thing to shoot at the time, other than music, was like time-lapse stuff. I was like really into it. So I used to like make a bunch of time-lapse stuff and I put it online, and then Comcast actually reached out. I was in Philly. I went to school near Philly. And so they bought the rights to all my time-lapse stuff. And I was like 20 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. So it was really helpful.
Time lapse, essentially where you leave it on and you just fast forward it, essentially.
Yeah. So nowadays, a lot of people will do pretty close to the technique. Like you see it a lot in vlogs where they're like just hit record and just do sped up video. But time lapse specifically is usually taking single raw photos, right, or JPEGs, and we're trying to show a lot of time. So not just like, hey, 30 minutes sped up. We're trying to show like a whole day. So
you take photos at different intervals.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So you usually have like, if the end goal of the film is going to be played at 24 frames per second, you would shoot, 1,000 frames would be like, I forget the math. I want to say it's like a minute of footage essentially. So it's very labor inducive, but at the same time, it was so educational for me. And I like doing it because like I got to, once Comcast licensed the footage, and they were like, hey, we need you to shoot 75 more clips of city of Philadelphia. You can shoot anywhere you want. And we can help you get into like on rooftops of cool buildings.
That's
and I was like,
dope.
Let's go. And so I was able to shoot from the roof of the Comcast building, which at the time was the highest building, 55 floors or whatever.
That's a view.
Yeah. It was the first time too, where like, as a photographer, you think like, oh yeah, we're just going to shoot. And like you were talking about, you had to wear a hard hat and a mask. Like I had to wear a belt and I had to be strapped to the building because the wind was so nuts, And like, oh, I never wanted to buy sandbags for my tripod, but you have to,
That's funny because the hook on the bottom of my tripod fell off and I was like, what the fuck is this used for? Literally for shooting on top of buildings.
Literally, yeah.
So when you're sitting on top of that building, like doing a time lapse on the Comcast building, you are manually there hitting it every certain intervals?
No, luckily,
that sounds like
most of these are built into cameras nowadays, but I had an extra piece of hardware called an intervalometer. And so it just plugs into like, on the old, I used to shoot Canon back then. So on the old Canons, it'd be like this weird slot that you'd never use for anything else. And that's where it goes. And again, it was all like analog. So it looks like a calculator screen. So you're like, how many photos do you want it to take? And you would say either like the max it could take is 1,000, or you could let it go like unlimited. And then like, what do you want your bulb speed to be and all this stuff. And a lot of times with time lapse too, you're shooting like, not just like a normal shutter speed, like 1/250th of a second. You're shooting like a second. So you could get this like blurry cars going by and stuff. And it's like the juxtaposition of different things in motion going. So you see a long exposure image and you're like, oh, that's cool. That's long exposure. That looks great. Like star trails or something. But time lapse is how you get star trails like moving in film, whereas like video cameras still can't do that.
That's very true.
So it's kind of cool, and if you ever like point your camera up at the North Star and then have long exposure, you'll see all the rings of star trails around it because the Earth is orbiting and stuff. So anyway, we're getting really nerdy. This podcast is crappy.
No,
because of me.
No, this is 100% interesting. I had no idea what an intervalometer was. That's hella cool, dude.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it's just stuff that like teaches you kind of how your camera works and process. And then, you got to have your workflow down because I was shooting like 10,000 images a day. So you'd have like 3 cameras, you set up different angles. You'd have like 3 different lenses, right? You have a wide, medium, tele, whatever you want to do.
And so you'd have like 3 cameras kind of wherever the sun horizon is kind of thing?
It would just depend, So luckily for this gig, they were super laid back. They were just commissioning Philadelphia artists. And I didn't even consider myself that. I was 20 years old, right? I was like, I don't know. To make content, to put in this Xfinity Live Center, which was like the sports complex in Philly. And so they were like, yeah, you can shoot whatever you want as long as it looks like Philly and kind of life. And I was like, okay, cool. So, a lot of time-lapse stuff is just things moving. So you'd have like 1 shot on traffic, 1 shot on the timeline, and then 1 on like the sky. Or if you saw something interesting, like if there's like in DC, it would be like, oh, here's the Capitol, but here's like what else is happening around the Capitol, So
it's super interesting that this was all happening when we were 20, because imagine when it's almost like you're like, wow, I'm kind of being pulled in this direction.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like when you're 20, you just got a commercial commercial corporate
huge
gig. Like,
it was the biggest gig I'd ever done.
Like, yeah, that's huge. Like for a 20-year-old who just trying to figure their shit out, you're like, yeah, maybe this was it. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. I mean, my personality, especially not planning on going to school, even today, you know, we've shot 200 weddings now. We've shot in 20 different countries. I feel so blessed and so lucky. Like, I'm ready for the shoe to drop at any time. Like, it could dry up and be like, Adam's not a photographer anymore. Like we talked about, right? I'd be like, all right, that was a fun ride. Like I literally feel like that, like a non-talented, like lucky rock star that like somehow, I don't even like using the term rock star, but I feel like I get to live my dream, man. Like I don't even care. Like when you get that email and you're like, oh, I gotta manage my email, or oh, I gotta do this stuff. I'm just like, I get to do this. Like I'm so happy that I get to like manage my schedule and just have freedom. And it sounds so stupid. Other people have bigger goals, but for me, I'm like, I just want to run my own ish and pay my mortgage, and you know, like hopefully my wife doesn't think we're poor. That's all I want. Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean for where the hat drop? Like you think like one day like photography, the gigs are going to stop coming or something? Like what do you mean?
Just mine. I've always kind of wanted that pessimistic, like, you know, making sure my eye's always on the lifeboat kind of thing. And which is silly because we've been 4 years doing this. But when I first went full time, I had a good job. I was doing nonprofit media work for a huge church here in D.C. And it was awesome. I was paid pretty well for my skill set. And I worked for like a very famous, like New York Times best-selling author. Like I had the job that everybody at my school wanted, like this very Christian media kind of thing. And I was super grateful for it.
Super niche. Yeah. That's like a rare thing to get.
Yeah. And so I wanted though to I wanted to take the chance and see if I could do it. Right. And I was single at the time. We just started dating who would be my wife. And I was like, all right, like my rent will probably never be lower. It's the time. And you know, luckily I kept track of all my finances, and my quote unquote accounts payable, like what money was planning to come in, was more than my salary at the time. And so I was like, and that was only from 9 gigs, right? So I was like, hey, if I can, you know, hustle more than these 9.
And those are all wedding gigs or just random gigs?
Half for weddings and then half for like corporate gigs.
Okay.
And so this was in like February or March. I was like, all right, I can get more than 9 days worth of work or 9 gigs worth of work for the rest of the year. So if I just hustle, cold call, like I was willing to do whatever. And so I was like, we'll just try it, and we'll go to December. We'll go to the end of the year. And if it sucks, I'll get a real job. You know, I was ready to give it up. And every year I kind of was always like, all right, well, we'll see how long it lasts. Yeah. And it's still going, but it's like a skipping rock. I'm kind of just like, all right, when's going to be the last skip, you know? Which I know sounds really morbid.
You're probably too deep, man. Like, I feel like
the cruise ship is going. Yeah.
I feel like having that mindset, like I could always get a job, is both a good and hurtful thing.
Totally. 100%. It might be restrictive in some ways. And I think too, like, there are times where I'm like, could I get a real job? I've had no boss for 4 years. Like, who's going to be my reference? You know, like what do they, and what kind of job lets us do what we do now?
Like 4 years ago when I was working at digital media.
Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, you need videos created. So yeah, man, life's weird, but I'm kind of like just along for the ride. And I think for me it's, for me, humility is not something that I have to that just comes naturally to me. I have to actively be like, no, Adam, like this might dry up, you know, or if we have another recession, which people are saying, like, how is that going to hurt the services industry?
Yeah, that is interesting. Like,
you know,
photography services with the recession. A lot of people always talk about that looming on the horizon.
Yeah. I mean, it's people like, this is weird, and it's, you know, being a grown up now, I pay attention to these things, but it's like the Fed just lowered interest rates again, which normally would sound good, but it's actually bad. And that's the first sign that people say normally projects a recession coming. And for the wedding industry and events industry, that's when people spend less on stuff. So it's like, oh, how are we preparing for this? Ooh. And luckily we talked about this. Like I've been preparing for a few years just in general to try and be better with my money, because entrepreneurs suck at how we spend and how we save. And so like I've just been working on that, trying to have I call it my war chest, and trying to have like a year's worth of income saved up. And so that's something like my mini goal this year.
God damn, dude, you're fucking crushing it.
I'm trying. I don't know if we'll get there by the end of this year. We have like 5 months right now, so we're trying to get there.
God dang. So you went into what you were doing thinking that weddings is what you always wanted to do? Or is it because like you shot your buddy's wedding and you were like, oh, you know, that was tight, I connect with it? Or is it just like weddings pay really well?
Yeah. For me, it was honestly, I'm an extrovert. and weddings are where like usually there's a lot of people. That's why I don't shoot elopements, right? There's just two people. And so I really enjoyed the environment. And then it took me a while to fall in love with what I was actually doing, and now that I have clients that connect with what I feel like I'm doing is like, now I do love it. I think I was never into it. I didn't know. A lot of people look at weddings as like a cash cow or like a quick way to make money. I didn't know that. I'd meet all these photographers that were like, ugh, I could never shoot weddings. And I was like, they seem so fun to me, and I never had a sad client yet. And then you get that client that's like, man, we're not actually really happy with your work. And you're like, oh God, I want to quit. And so, yeah, I kind of fell in love with it, and
that's good though. You're in it for the right reasons. You actually enjoy the social dynamic of weddings.
100%.
I feel like that goes really overlooked when it comes to photography. Is the fact that you're kind of a center of attention too. Like you're that guy in front of everyone.
Everybody is
snagging photos.
Looking at you.
Everyone's tapping on you. Yeah, like you got to set up certain shots and stuff like that.
Yeah, and how you manage just stupid stuff. Like it's a lot of good people skills that I think any photographer could learn from. Is like, managing 2 different families, like for family portraits. You're not just telling people where to stand. And one, you also think too, like whenever I shoot, very seldom, but whenever I shoot models or if I shoot like corporate headshots, most of the time it's like a one-on-one connection and people listen to you, right? Even 20 adults, they don't listen to you, and you're just like, what is happening here? But just learning the mindset behind helping people in that scenario. And then 2, I didn't know this until my wife and I got married, was like, the wedding planning was stressful, and not just actual planning, but just that season of life of like this big thing is happening. All our friends, it feels like all our friends are looking at us, but not helping us. And a lot of couples go through that. So if you know any engaged people right now, just text them and tell them you love them right now, cause they need your love. It might seem like, oh, everything's so happy and we just bought flowers, but, they need people in their corner. And once that happened for me too, I love to be an advocate, and I love to like, just again, like help out my homies, and my couples became my homies. And I was like, hey, I can step in the gap for you and be kind of a neutral friend on wedding day.
Yeah.
And that changed the game. Like the photos were so much better. People are so much more natural in front of me because of my personality and because of like,
the idea of neutral friends, interesting.
Yeah, and just that they can have somebody who's in their corner,
like you're there to not just be the guy that they paid to be there, but you're also like a homie, like oh, what's up, Sue and Phil? It's like just go ahead, and like everyone's very comfortable or something.
100%, and I'm on their team. Where when you get engaged, or especially in America, it's kind of like all these traditions, and a lot of my couples have gone away with a lot of them, which is awesome, but. It feels like it should just be you two, like planning stuff and like, hey, this is kind of fun. Like, oh, been to a wedding where you have like a milkshake bar or you have a hot potato bar, whatever. And you're like, that's your little facet of your personality, or maybe you like food. But there's so many people that are like, hey, so especially parents, they're just like, hey, are you going to do this? Hey, are you planning on this? Or hey, are you planning on inviting this person? And for a lot of couples, that stuff is just stressful because
it seems so stressful.
They want it to be about them. Mm-hmm. And I think if you have vendors that align with that, then that's really important. So it sounds dumb, but for me, I'm spending 10 hours with my clients on wedding day, right? Like the florist isn't with them, right? The caterer, all those people, I'm with them the entire day. And so we need to mesh, in a pretty solid way. And then the other thing too, from the photo perspective, if people feel good, they look good. If they're more comfortable around me, and you've shot plenty of people where you have to warm them up a little bit.
Yeah.
Unless you want like the cold look, and so.
No, those are difficult shoots.
Yeah. So that's what I try and do, is just make people feel comfortable around me. And
yeah, you're spending very intimate moments with people.
100%.
You're literally there. Because I was looking at some of your work, you're literally there in the room while she's getting dressed. Like, because I know that's a whole moment. Like
totally, yeah. For a lot of people, that's super important. Or they used to wear a lot of hand-me-down dresses that were like in their family and stuff like that.
Yeah, like nice dresses that were passed down from their grandmother. And it's like in the corner, we got this
large bearded guy
with a beard and a hat. Just looking at me with a camera.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I always say when people are like, hey, like a planner will come up to me and be like, hey, I was looking for you. And I'm like, you couldn't spot the 300-pound bearded man? Like, what are you doing wrong? Like, I'm very obviously fat. Like if a bear came to a wedding, they'd be like, there's a bear right there. Like, that's me. Like if something is wrong if you can't notice this like fat bearded dude coming around. So
no, but that's a great strategy to weddings. I've never thought about weddings on that level where it's like, you have to be in their corner. Like it has to be these things. Yeah. It's not just a detached photographer sitting on the side. Like it has to, the way you treat it is more intimate of an experience because it means so much to people.
It makes the wedding experience as a photographer so much more fun. Like I think that's why a lot of people like dip their toe in. A lot of photographers dip their toe in, and they're like, "This isn't for me. I don't like this."
Dip in the wedding sphere.
Yeah. They're like, I had a bridezilla or whatever, and I've shot 200 weddings. I've never had a bridezilla.
Really?
Yeah, and I feel so fortunate. Like I've had some clients that were a little bit more higher maintenance, but I think you just have to understand people, and you just have to align with people's pain points. And that's a business thing. That's not something we're going to learn in a camera workshop, and it's hard, but that's for me. Both my parents were entrepreneurs, owned their own business. My mom's a hairdresser. My stepdad's a master carpenter. And I learned that where like, even if they had a client that was like kind of annoying them, they still served them and they still went after them. And luckily for me, those clients that have a pain point, when they see that I'm eliminating that, they become a friend and not just a client. And so, it makes weddings so much more fun when
It's interesting that both your parents had a customer service sort of job.
It's crazy.
It definitely would teach you a lot. Like, sort of just to deal with people.
Totally. Being in the hair salon with my mom, like when I was raised mostly by her until I was like 12 or 13, I was just being in a hair salon with her and like a bunch of other stylists, like just chilling. And it's just how to talk to people, converse with people, different colors, shapes, skins, hair textures, everything. That was my little slice of culture for a long time, which is a very small slice, right? But like we had that. And then also people like, especially I feel like old school, and I feel like mostly for ladies, you find your hairdresser, that's your person, like you stick with them forever, and you tell them.
They're like your psychiatrist at the same time.
100%.
They're your hair advisor, everything. It's,
right. Exactly.
It's more than just like getting your hair cut.
Yeah. So it helped me a lot just in the wedding industry, and, even all my brides, I feel like most of them feel really comfortable with me. I never try to push any boundaries or anything like that. Or if it is time to get dressed, like I always say like, hey, I can step out. And then whenever you want me to come back in, I can come back in. So some brides are like, hey, I'm fully zipped, come back in. Some brides are like, hey, you can just stay. Like they played D1 soccer and they're used to like locker room vibe. And I think there's trust that I'm not going to shoot something that they don't necessarily want to come away with either. Yeah. It's not that time. No
one's going to frame a photo of them like half naked getting into wedding.
Yeah. Like, that's the other thing too, is like you growing up, you always think like, oh, people had really cool underwear on under their dresses. No, there's a lot of different like corsets and all kinds of weird stuff. And
they are squeezing into those dresses.
100%. Yeah. They do not seem comfortable, and we don't, we're trying to make them look good and feel good. So, but yeah, so it helps out a lot, and just being around mostly women in the job, and then growing up in a hair salon it's been really helpful. It's really cool.
Dude, that's probably why you're extroverted, which I think is probably why what you do is so aligned with what you do.
Maybe. It could be.
Because there are a good amount of photographers who aren't extroverted. Totally. I would say 3/4 of them aren't extroverted.
Most artists, I feel like,
Yeah, most artists are just very bad at communicating and just relating with people, like about their pain points. Like how many the story of an artist is like, oh, like he was late, he doesn't care, blah blah blah. And it's like, but it's like it fits you, dude. It makes sense.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It should be good.
That's hella tight.
Yeah, it's fun. I like doing it, and I mean, it's again, it's just an opportunity for a kid raised in a small town to like meet so many different people and other photographers. And like I shot for Obama staffers, I've shot for Trump staffers, I've shot for people who work for Uber, I've shot for just, your normal run of the mill DC Hill couple, and it's given me such a good opportunity. And then, I shoot it for a lot of nonprofits, because of how I got into photography, and like been to Ethiopia, South Africa, Bolivia, Guatemala, El Salvador, like get to travel a decent amount and just meet people I never normally meet. And it's opened my eyes.
Now that sounds fun. Traveling.
Dude, it's so good. Well, it's funny. People, I was talking to the Nat Geo photographer about this, and how she's usually covering like foreign conflicts. And then I'm like usually working for a nonprofit who's like in a rough community trying to do something better for the world. So people are like, oh yeah, traveling. And I'm like, not that kind of traveling.
Traveling to impoverished places.
Yeah. Like we had to rent, when I was in Ethiopia last time, we had to hire like armed guards to walk around with me, which is so funny. And not for all of Ethiopia by any means, but it was one of those things. We knew we were going into a certain situation where there was like a pagan community that would not be down with us being there. And so it was just funny. Like people are like, yeah, traveling. And I'm like, I'm usually going to the roughest parts on purpose, to help this organization or whatever, which for me is what I want to do. Like I don't want to, there's time to travel, that's usually with my wife or by myself, and like, hey, let's go shoot cool stuff and like eat fancy meals or, whatever, which for me is usually just as much Taco Bell as possible.
Hey, what do you get at Taco Bell?
So I don't get any of the main stuff. Cheesy potato griller or cheesy potato burrito is what they used to call it. Now it's a griller. I get 3 of those.
I never had one of those. I'm a Mexican pizza guy.
Oh, my wife got a Mexican pizza the other night, and yeah, we were at Taco Bell recently. Had a Mexican pizza the other night, and I was like, I'd never had it before, and I was like, oh, let me try it. And she knew though. She was like, don't tell me if you don't like it. Which I'm, as an extrovert and somebody who, I say everything that is on my mind. You'll never not know what I'm feeling, and I had it and I was like, this is not good.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it, which is so funny. You can't be fat not liking food. I feel like I like all kinds of food. And I tried it and I was like, Mexican, love Mexican food, love pizza. Okay, marriage. And it's like that Jim Gaffigan joke where he's like, fruit, pretty cool. Cake, also pretty cool. Fruit cake, nasty crap. And so, yeah, for me, that was just not my thing. But also Baja Blast, you know.
Yo, I was just thinking Baja Blast is like half the reason I would even go to Taco Bell.
100%. Yeah.
That shit is so good. Like that's the time when I actually will have soda, and it's at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
God, that shit's delicious.
I love it. I love it. Skip the water, skip the diet soda, you're hitting the Baja Blast.
Nah, you just got to go 100%.
How does Baja Blast only be served at Taco Bell? Like, that's going to be the number one, like, they lobbied Pepsi somehow, or like, that's their thing.
Right.
Nobody else, even other, like, Taco Bell's owned by Yum Brands, other Yum Brand, like Pizza Hut, Long John Silver, they ain't got that Baja Blast.
Dang. I don't think I've ever eaten at Long John Silver.
I did once. It's not awesome.
But like,
yeah, it was short John Silver.
But if
so
they
it's
had
not
Baja
good.
Blast, I'd probably think twice about it. Like,
You just go in there, get that drink, and you're like, what's up, guys?
yeah, let me get that drink and some of those shrimps or whatever the fuck that's.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Oh, man. Dude. What else you want to talk about? I feel, obviously, I'm on this podcast, but I'm like, man, I'm talking a lot, which is
no, this is great.
abnormal.
I'm listening. I mean, that's the point is that like I love letting my guests talk. That's how I normally approach it. I say, you're not listening and ask a few questions. Wait, I want to ask you, what is your favorite part about weddings? Like, what do you enjoy most about it? Is it the actual being there at the wedding and shooting and interacting with people?
I think my favorite thing, and it's taken a long time because it used to be certain photos, right? Or it'd be like a lot of photographers, wedding photographers would be like, I only care about the portrait time with the couple, you know? And for me, I like that. That's when you have full creative control, right? Like, hey, and that's the cool thing about weddings is like, let me try and make something cool out of a normal space or whatever. But the reality is, for me, my favorite part of wedding day is even non-religious weddings, like even just couples who just want to get married and have fun. There's something about watching people and taking photos of them, like documenting these moments that I hope, are getting to be as close to 100% themselves as possible. And that for me, like, our company mission statement has nothing to do with photography. It's like, I exist to eliminate fear, create connection, and help people become fulfilled. And I want, like, imagine what people would live life like if they had no fear and just being who they are, like on a first date or whatever, or meeting new people, or at a wedding where, like, I never want a couple to feel like they have to be somebody else. And oftentimes in weddings, that's what happens, is like weddings for millennials is an opportunity for our parents to show other people their age how awesome their kids are. And people our age, though, we don't want that. Like millennials, like, we want to be bragged about, but we don't want to do it ourselves. We don't want to be like, hey, look at my Lambo. We want to, like, just take our friends for a ride in the Lambo. And I think at a wedding, I want, when couples and people, even guests, you know, like when people are getting crazy and they're feeling wild and they're having fun and they're singing out of tune to The Killers or Jay-Z or whatever.
Same 5 songs.
Yeah. Anytime I hear a new song, I'm like, yes. Like, how is Old Town Road? Like, it's a decent song. It should be played at weddings right now. Like,
it's not a wedding banger already?
No, people. I feel like DJs are slacking. That's a whole other rant. A lot of wedding DJs. There's a few good ones. They're on my list. But there's a lot that, like, they don't even
provide that.
They don't even listen to music.
Like, I know a dope DJ too. But
yeah, two wedding DJs, Craig Dubb and Dan Goldman. Those are my guys, because they're actually musicians and they're, like, into it. Whereas a lot of DJs are like, hey, I run the tech stuff and I make the people happy, and they're playing, like, Macarena still. I'm like, bro, how
shit, Cha-Cha Slide. I mean, you probably got to play.
Dude, yeah, dude, I'm not into it. So that was a super long answer, but I love when people can just be themselves, man. And I just, like, even at hanging out or at our house, like I would never want somebody to feel like they have to impress me. And I don't want the same for them. Like I used to feel really self-conscious about like wearing jeans and a t-shirt as a business owner. And then people were like, Adam, that's you. Like, that's you. And that's
also like the luxury of it is the fact that I can wear jeans and a t-shirt 100%. And a hat and like grow my goddamn beard out and just be a fucking man. Like I don't gotta shave to go to work. I don't gotta live to someone else's dress code or whatever it is.
100%. And so it's, I think that is like my number one goal for wedding people or anybody I shoot, anybody I interact with is like, I want Bruce Allen to be 100% Bruce Allen. And then you can always change. You can always evolve. You can always be, you know, you're working out or you're doing something. I'll be like, hell yeah, Bruce, like be who you want to be. Cause I think like this is kind of cheesy, but like you can Google this. There's a 1 in 400 trillion chance that we were human. Like
I've heard that before.
Gary Vaynerchuk always talks.
Yeah, that's very Gary V quote.
Like you could be a tree. You could be that woman that was talking on the phone, which is still cool, you know, but it's like, I feel so lucky, one, to be here. And then it's just, everything else is like, there's levels to this, but it's like extra levels of happiness and awesomeness. So
yeah, the gratitude's epic, man. Shit. You
yeah.
want to be more grateful. God dang. Even though I was limping through a construction site with a goddamn brace on my leg. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that was way more fun than the going and serving tables. Like,
dude, yeah, absolutely. And it's like, you know, there's always
sound effects.
Always sound effects. Like a clown is behind me right now. But yeah, it's just life. And obviously, as two white guys experiencing white privilege in a systemically racial injustice country built on the backs of people who don't look like us, it's hard for us to share how grateful we can be when, you know, we're born on second base or third base or whatever. But like, that's important, you know, and I am super grateful, you know, and everybody's story is different. You know, for me, like the privileges I had definitely will never be a reason that I didn't make something. But, you know, if you raised by a single mom in a small town, kicked out of college, all that stuff, you know, it's like, you know, I'm super grateful, you know, but at the same time, like that eliminating fear as like my personal mission statement, like we have a lot of work to do, you know, for different races, different people, whatever. Like if we all walked on the streets of DC as if we weren't afraid of everybody else and could just be friends and say what's up. And especially on this street, you know, with our homeless friends is like, I just, you know, say what's up, you know, whatever. And I'm not trying to form a long distance relationship, but I can say, hey, you know, that can be my currency.
Nothing wrong with saying, hey, that's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. So that was a little bit of a rant. Sorry.
No, it's all good. So what do you least like about weddings?
Ooh.
About doing that?
The thing I like least about weddings would probably be the opposite of what I like is if people do stuff because they feel like they have to, or if they feel like their friend told them they had to do it. Or I always use this example of like parents asking you, hey, Bruce, what color napkins are you guys going to have? And you're like, I don't know. I think the venue will provide them probably white linens, right? You know, or whatever. And a parent being like, Bruce, but blue is your birth color. You have to have blue napkins. And I just never want you to feel like you have to do something because somebody else wants you to have to do it, you know?
I was totally expecting you to be like, yeah, I hate culling thousands of photographs and having to edit them all.
One, hire an editor, outsource.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, I feel like I was late to the game. A lot of people who...
That's the move right there.
They get to my level or my experience level, whatever that is. And most people outsource. For me, that was one of my skill sets. Like I could edit a wedding, you know, even a big one between like 4 to 6 hours. So it wasn't a crazy task for me to be like, you know, like there are people that take 20 hours to edit weddings. And I'm like, Jesus. You're losing money. And so, but it got to that point where if I want to shoot 30 to 40 weddings a year, I can gain a lot of time back by handing it off. So, it took a little while, but we got it to work, and it's been almost a year that I've been with my editor.
Where'd you find an editor?
This was a buddy of mine who just had a kid, and I was like, bro, you want to spend some time at home with your kid and work whenever you want? And he was like, yes. And I was like, he was already into photography. He has a super good work ethic. You know, he's a good buddy. And I told him, I was like, hey, like I know we're friends, and mixing business with friends can sometimes be kind of sketchy. So I said, hey, like we'll use a whole separate app just to communicate business stuff. So we use Slack only for business, but you want to text me about life? Let's just text, you know, because I didn't want to mess up the friendship.
That's smart. I like that.
Yeah. And so, but it was like a cool opportunity, and you want like, I bust my wife about this, but I'm always like, hey, if you ever want to work for Mesa Photography, you know, just let me know. Like, you know, you want to run the photo booth, or you want to like be an assistant.
We could use some editors, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm just like, babe, I would rather pay you than somebody I don't know, you know, or like, if anybody wants a fun Saturday project, look up the tax advantages of working with your family. Like that's why people have family owned businesses.
Oh, really?
Dude, it's insane. Certain state laws. Yeah. It makes so much percent. Like the tax bracket that you get is totally different. And so there are benefits, right? Because like America cares about the family, right? So the government in theory reflects that. But long story short, hired my buddy, and it took about 10 weddings to get it trained on. But luckily he knew my work because we were friends and he'd been following my work for a long time. And it's been a good learning experience for both of us. And to have like a long-term, it's been a year, employee, quote unquote, or contractor.
I've just never understood people that actually want to edit photos. That just seems like something that is not the part I enjoy about photography.
I think for a lot of people, I don't know if that's for him. For him, it's been a good learning experience because he's new to the photography world too. And then over time, as you get older, there are other benefits of different things that start to outweigh different things, right? So it's like why people that have a kid buy a minivan. Like, hey, it doesn't look cool.
Oh yeah, but it's practical.
Yeah.
Or I can stay home with my kid if I just edit photos for 4 or 5 hours a day.
Exactly, right? So it's just a different benefit, right? So I think a lot of people are like underutilizing those benefits, So it's like people want to, we're getting off topic here. People want to like assist on shoots and stuff like that. And I'm always like, hey, like I'll pay you a little bit, but I don't think I can pay you a ton. Just say it's like an engagement session or a portrait session or whatever. But like, I'm an open book. Like when we're together, you don't have to pay, like I do mentorship. And so people pay for that or whatever. And that's because they're getting focused time. But if they're with me at a shoot, like I'll say anything, like they can have the keys to the kingdom essentially.
That's the hack right there. That's why you assist and work with other photographers so you can get the game.
Dude, people, I just talked to somebody about this. Like people have no idea, like people are not grinders, and I think people who are ready to grind and like learn and figure stuff out, it's underrated. So I have no idea what we're talking about. Editors, getting an editor is awesome. And it's just gotten so much time back. So I forget what we were talking about before then.
We're just going down the path of a conversation.
Dude, there's so much.
I do not have like a script over here. My phone's like over there, and I had some ideas of like what I was asking, but I feel like I've covered a good amount. Like,
why are you so hairy? And we're like, well, bro, I don't know. I've had a beard since I was 15. Yeah.
Here's one. How do I save as a freelancer? You remember you?
Oh yeah. We got to talk about the real ish. Yeah. So I think for a long time when I first started, just like anybody else, right? Like you get that first like $500 gig or that $1,000 gig, and everybody gets those. Like I don't have any problem with it. You gotta get paid. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes you think like, oh, even on the good side, like say you didn't have to rent any gear, say it's like low key, like you just want to do some portraits out in the alley in the back, for like a influencer or something. And you get $1,000, right? And you're like, oh, I have $1,000, like cash in my hand, there's some side of things where people think like, oh, well now I have $1,000. And I think the reality is like your cost of doing business and those kinds of things are important. Like, hey, you got to pay your bills. Like, hey, how much does your mortgage cost? And like for wedding photographers, most of them, because we do like what's called volume work, is like, ask them how many weddings they need to break even, So like for me, it'd be like 28 weddings. I need 28 weddings at my base price per year to break even, or I need 24. If they don't know that number, don't talk to them. No, they should know what's up. But once you get your business established, it's just saving money. Oftentimes you feel like every dollar you make, you have to put back in the business. Mm-hmm. You like feel guilty if you don't. And so for me, I was that way. And oftentimes if I needed money to pay my personal rent or my personal meal or car stuff, right, I would always pay for, I would always just pull money from my business account and then use it personally and be like, okay, cool, like whatever. But the reality is like we start businesses to enjoy life and to get more out of life. And getting married helped with this a lot because my wife was like, well, how much do you make? And I was like, I don't know. Like here's my accounts. There's plenty in this one is the business account. And, I just pull from that whenever we need it. And she was like, what about retirement? What about, saving for us personally? Like if we want to do stuff on the house, I'm like, oh yeah, the business can't pay for that. And so I actually read this book called Profit First. And it basically was a principle of like, every time you get a gig, take a certain percentage off and just put it away.
Like a different account, save it.
Exactly. Yeah. I would say a different account is super helpful. And that's like the basic goal of it for me. And like, it's helped me so much because like, I don't know if you're like me, but like if I have money, I'll spend it. I'll find a way, you know, like
if you can see it and you know you got a little extra this month.
Exactly. And if you keep a track and like, and two, if you get to this place where you're like, I could always make more, right? Like I just try and find another gig.
I think the more important question here is, how do freelance creatives generate more business? I think that's the question. And that also leads into my other question that I had an interesting perspective on that I saw in someone else's. Do you believe that sales and marketing are a good thing? Like, do you believe in that? Because I recently saw this photographer I follow from the area. I'm not gonna say his name. He's a great guy though.
Sure.
And actually I could, yeah, it's Pierre. He's been on the podcast. He's super cool guy, kind of spiritual, but he was like, you don't ever have to do sales or do marketing as long as you're putting out great work, it'll come to you. Yeah. And I replied back to his story and I was like, I agree with you, but I don't. Because I think that in some essence you should. I mean, what's your perspective on it? Like, do you do it?
Yeah. So I think we'll go backwards. So we'll start with that and then we'll get to the income generating is. I would agree. And most artists would want that, right? Like we talked about before the podcast is like, we just want people to love us and book us for our work.
That's the ideal way. Right. That's like the ideal. It comes to you essentially.
Exactly. Like we need 10 Bruce Allen fans per year to book you for $10,000 to $15,000 gigs. And that's it. Like that's what you need. Right. But oftentimes we find ourselves booking 25, 35, 50, 100 gigs of varying income levels. And a percentage of those are probably Bruce Allen fans. They're Bruce Allen diehards. And then other people are like, I just need a photographer or I just need a headshot photographer. And I think there's an element. If every person on the planet, if they were all people who purchased with intention, then I would say Pierre is 100% on point. Because people would say, I'm going to have Bruce Allen do my headshot, or I'm going to have Adam Mason shoot my wedding. There are people like that for me, but that's not every wedding that I book. The goal for any business though is to have all diehards, you know, like that's like brand ambassadors, like that would be amazing. But oftentimes that doesn't happen. Like I think there are people that love Starbucks. I think there are people that are okay with Starbucks, and there are people that hate Starbucks.
Yeah.
Two of those three crowds go to Starbucks, you know, when it's convenient. And so for me, I think sales and marketing is something that you still have to do because we don't live in a 100% intentionally based purchasing world, which sounds insane. But again, it goes back to what we said of like, you know, I don't think my parents care what kind of car they drive. They, you know, Toyota has a good reputation to them. They're kind of like, we're like, hey, it doesn't break down. And so they're like, yeah, it does the job. It feels nice when I sit in it. It has good gas mileage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, I feel like people can, like, if you do put out good work, if you like good, whatever,
that's the best first step.
It'll come to you. And I feel like that's a very natural, organic way to get clients, to get sales. But
totally.
But I don't think that's, I think it stops there. I think for some people personally, it can work there. Like that 100%, that model just works for their life. Maybe they're lucky or whatever it is. And those other people, I don't know. But I think for a majority of people, that's not the case. Like
I would agree. Yeah. It might be a season for people. Maybe like you can have wedding photographers can have a good year where it might be like, hey, I think only 5 of my clients out of my 35 were like not big fans of me, you know, or maybe they were just like, hey, we need a wedding photographer. Adam did a good job, whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, the goal, we'll say like wedding photographer, like euphoria is like, they email you, hey, Adam, we've followed your work for a few years. We just got engaged. What dates are you available that we can book our wedding? Like that's...
Oh, geez, that sounds like a great freaking email.
That's the goal. And they're like, here's our budget, have all our money, whatever, right? And so the majority of my clients are that way, which is... We've worked really hard to get there, but I still feel like I have to hustle, you know, for the extra 5, 10 weddings, which for me might be 20, 40% of my income or gross revenue. So like, I think there are those artists out there, right? There's big photographers, right?
The big photographers with names. I feel like it just comes in the door. Like you probably have to say no to things. Like it's like it seems like there's a disparagement between, or whatever the correct verbiage is. Like like people who are on the higher, almost like two halves where you're so known and your work's so good where it all comes to you.
Sure.
Or the people who are trying to get there and you have to like get it.
Totally.
You have to be out there getting it, making sales, however you get sales, like whether it's like Facebook ads, in person, cold calls. Like how do you do sales marketing?
Yeah. So I think I would be in the middle of those. So I think I I'm on the journey of hopefully trying to get up there to where people are like, we want Adam. Adam's the guy.
Yeah.
But that's not going to be all my clients. I get really nerdy about this because I teach this. This is my number one thing for photographers is like building a referral network. So it's not just all my eggs are in the word of mouth basket or all my eggs are in the Facebook ads or the SEO or the Instagram baskets. Like we need to diversify and like one, you need to know what your number one lead source is.
Yeah.
And then take care of that lead source, love that lead source. Like if it's Instagram, you need to be on Instagram every day saying hi on stories. I know it sucks, but just be like, what's up? Like for me, my biggest lead source last year was Instagram. I'm not sure what it is this year. Yeah. Which is crazy. Like over 6 figures just from Instagram.
No shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll show you.
Is that sponsored post or is that you just interacting, engaging with people?
100% just regular engagement. I haven't advertised on Instagram last year. We just started this year because of that.
Do you have like a specific Instagram strategy?
I wish. I want one. I mean, mostly authenticity. That's the number one thing. And it's so weird, Bruce. Like, maybe this is because I grew up as like not a cool kid. It's so weird to be like, people like you. People like Bruce. People like Adam. And I'm like, nobody likes me, right? But some odd number of followers do. And people comment, engage, and watch. And the weirdest thing, the window just opened again. That's so creepy.
Oh, it's creepy.
But we're thankful for the breeze.
Some pressure, yeah.
But we, it's so weird when I show up to a shoot and people will, one, know my wife's name, two, know what she does, and be like, hey, how's Sarah?
Dude, I totally know what you're talking about. How people know information and details about you.
Right. From stories or
I used to be way more face forward in my Instagram stories. I used to be on like every day, like, what's up, fam? And like way more. I just kind of drift away from it.
Yeah.
But in a lot of ways, I think back to that because people would like know things about my life I wouldn't expect them to. They're oh, you're at the Temple of Flex. I'd always refer to the gym of that.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. And they would like make these references like, I just met you, dog. Like,
yeah, they know you more than you know them.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
And I think that's a weird but awesome thing. Like, it's both a permission and it's like you're giving permission for that to happen, and you know that's happening. So you're just like, all right, I guess we're going to be on Instagram, but for me, my strategy is to show up, and my number one thing is in the world of social media is just to be real, and like, do
you put like a lot of time to interacting with people? Is that what it is? Like you purposely take time to like,
yeah, I would say my number one thing, the thing I teach to my mentees is, and this is like a fun little strategy if you're like an event or wedding photographer. I'm not sure, I'd have to adapt the strategy for like portrait and corporate, but, I'll just go to the wedding venue's location tag and I'll comment on 100 photos all at once. And authentic comments. I'll be like, this looks amazing. Because it's just from random people that were there, right? So it's like almost organic Instagram ads, when you target people in a certain location. I'll just go on there and be like, this photo looks great, but that dress looks amazing, girl. You've been killing it, and I'm just like super authentic in those comments. And then, the return, it used to be so like almost 100%. All those people would follow you.
Really?
But now it's probably like 40%. But people are interested because people that go to those wedding venues are also engaged. You got to know your clientele. So like they're also engaged. They're in a relationship. They like cool wedding photos, or especially if I shot a wedding there the past weekend, I go really ham on that location. Or if the couple has a hashtag, I'll like go really ham on it. I'll comment on every single person's post and be like, I love when you were dancing to that song, or do you remember Blink-182 last night? That was sick. And they're like, I think again, going back to the first thing I said is like people buy from brands they know, like, and trust. The first step is know. And so they see me in their comments and they're like, man, this guy gets it. Or man, this guy, he's different. He, like, we don't expect to get an Instagram comment from like the caterers, or the florist or the DJ, but the photographer, he knows what's up. And, that's the first step.
That's such a Gary Vee strategy.
I'm a big fan of things you can do multiple times all the time that aren't, I forget the name of it, but it's like, you can't automate it. It's like, hey, let's just go for it.
Something that you do yourself. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. It's so crazy how some comments and engagements makes you 6 figures off of freaking Instagram, dude.
Yeah, I would say it's a combination of that, good work that aligns with people, right? Proper hashtags and all that stuff.
No, but that's so smart. Like, that is using Instagram as a tool. That's not
100%.
That's not like being addicted to Instagram and just scroll for no reason. Like, you're actually on Instagram to do something with an objective.
Totally.
Like, and these are real comments. You're not just there like, hey, I'm just trying to scam you. Like, no, like, these are real comments that you think.
We've all gotten that comment that's like, nice pic, nice capture. Yeah. Take a look at my feed. I don't do that.
Meaningful things. Like, and sure, it's part strategic. I get that. But like at the same time, it's like, you mean it.
I drop a lot of fire emojis, where like I try to like, align with the person who's there. So if it's like a girl in a dress or a bunch of girls having fun, I'm like, girl, you're killing it, or whatever. Just like, hey, like that soul cycle's been doing good. Or I don't know. Like I want to be nice. I want to be encouraging about it.
That's interesting. You got me thinking. Wait, what's that?
I was gonna say the other thing is I feel like I'm in this boat. A lot of people like go and we get on Instagram or Facebook and we just scroll. And then when we're done scrolling, we feel like garbage. Rather, when we went to Instagram to feel good, it feels so nice. So I have a daily limit on how much I can use Instagram. I just set it to an hour, which is still a lot. I need to cut it down. But it makes me more intentional. Be like, all right, I'm going to check a few stories, see what's up. Like Bruce is one of the people that pop up in my like top up there. Because it only pops up there if you watch it a lot. And I watch all of your stuff. So I was like, all right, what's up? That. But they... like it makes me more intentional because, all right, I have a job to do. I'm going to go in, I'm going to say what's up to, these 3 venues or whatever. You can come up with your own strategy and like, you feel better when you've been intentional about what you're doing than like mindlessly scrolling, searching for inspiration or searching for like something to fulfill you. And it's helped me a lot because I'm one of those guys. Like I get like I want to compare myself to other photographers.
Dude, that's the worst part about it. Is
I see tons of wedding stuff.
You get on there. Sometimes you get on there to actually with an objective, and then you forget, and you end up just like getting lost. Or you just get on there and you're just like, oh God, I am so insignificant because
you feel so small.
20-year-old photographer is over here shooting in Bali, and you're just like, what am I doing with myself?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, but like, oh, this guy has Beyonce's phone number. WTF? No, it makes sense when you see a lot of people who become like bigger influencers or whatever, photographers and other entrepreneurs who like. It always feels like they scheduled their time to go on Instagram stories, but it makes sense. It's like, oh, they're just going to go on, they're going to speak their mind, say what they got to do, and then they're going to get off, and they're going to not like feel bad about themselves.
It's also like, it's like, do you have shit to do? I feel like if you're actually busy, and you don't spend time on it.
Yeah. I want everything I do from whatever like business hours I set, which I don't really recently, but, I want it to benefit my business, and it's easy as a freelancer too, to like, and it is nice some days when you're like, I'll do a little bit of work, do 4 hours of work, and then I'll like order Uber Eats, watch Netflix, get back to work, right? But there's sometimes now, especially when you have either a wife or a family or kids or jobs or soccer or whatever, like you have other priorities that you also want to make time for. And those, like, I always say, I tell my mentees and I tell myself this, is like, when Bruce goes to soccer, we're not necessarily thinking that as investing in like his photography, but that makes Bruce a better Bruce. Like Bruce is happier when he plays soccer.
A better person.
Yeah, like even just for you, you're just like, I'm happier when I get to play soccer.
No, soccer hates me. It broke my toe.
Yeah.
I don't like soccer anymore. Fuck soccer.
Whenever you get to like go out drinking or you go shooting or go to yoga or whatever, like people's peace and rest is whatever that means to them. So, but it's like the best clients are the ones that were like, hey, a better Adam is a better photographer for me. So like take all the time you need or whatever. Like, there are 2 different kinds of clients, right? And you have corporate clients all the time, right? Where they're like, hey, we have this campaign launching and we need this deadline. But you have those clients sometimes when they're like, hey, take all the time you need. We want it to be great. We want you to feel confident in the product you released. And you're like, these people get it, and you still obviously do a good job. Don't fully take your time, but like, it's so nice when people get it, So it's people. Again, that's another millennial thing. People want the best thing made by people who feel like it's their best.
You've got a positive outlook on millennials.
I'm one, right?
This is the most millennial positive podcast I've ever heard of. Most talk I ever hear about millennials, even from millennials, is just a terrible thing.
Yeah. I think if we want to talk like this, my uneducated opinion would be millennials were not set up for the success that we were told we could have. And so I'm a big fan of like that's why I feel lucky. I'm just like, hey, I could easily be a guy working a blue collar job.
Yeah. You could have been that mechanic in Delaware.
Dude, 100%. Be working on some cars, slinging oil changes for $12 an hour, and I'd be loving life, but I get to do what I do now, and it's so crazy. And I think like necessity is the mother of invention, right? So it's like a lot of millennials, we might not have those like blue collar skills that our parents like make fun of us for not having, or the Gen Xers make fun of us for not
being able to fix a toilet.
Yeah, but it's like we know how to solve problems and want to solve problems. And I was talking to my wife about this the other day, which is like politics in general, red, blue, whatever. We are the generation that unlike generation, we don't have that fear that's like of a certain side. We have a fear of doing things wrong in general. And then we also like, we're very aware and we say like, this is not okay, you know, of certain situations, right? And we want to rectify things, which I think
millennials are actually, I think they are hardworking. Like that's one of the biggest things.
Hardworking, 100%.
Millennials are lazy. I'm like, I don't know. How many internships did you have that were non-paid? It's
right,
like,
100%.
I feel like there's so many more examples where it's like millennials are working longer, they're working later. And then on top of that, why does it seem like every millennial has a side hustle? Yeah. And then on top of that, now we're maintaining an Instagram appearance or brand on top of like your job and then the thing you actually want to pursue. It's so different than me. It's so different than
I think people definitely millennials want to work. You know, I think people like they get a bad rap. And so, I don't know. I'm a millennial. I like working. I like to.
You're barely a millennial.
I'm barely a millennial. 30?
30 is like barely there.
89. Yeah. So
I guess 90s is like millennial-ish.
Oh, okay.
Grew up on the internet, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like the milestone. Did you grow up on the internet?
I feel like I did. Yeah. I mean, I went to high school for computer science. It's like we had majors in high school. So I like had a comp sci. So I mixed it with the mechanics and the comp sci. So like I was like coding in basic and then we'd go like do an oil change.
Jesus.
That was funny. I was a weird kid.
A little bit of both worlds there.
That was my goal. I just wanted to be like one of my goals when I was in high school. I never expressed it this way, but now I can see what my goal was. Is like I wanted to be useful, you know. Like if somebody needed something, I wanted to be the guy that could do it for them, you know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I still feel like that. Like when I'm on big sets, like one of my internships that was unpaid was with a film company in Philly, and I just learned as much as I possibly could, and I never wanted to be like the director or the DP. Like I just wanted to be a good grip, you know, or a good PA. And like, I'm only making $150 today. Great. Which out of college, that was awesome. And like, I'm getting to work with a Red camera. I'm getting to shoot for like, I got to meet Wu-Tang Clan on my internship.
That's what? Like all of them, Method Man and Redman were there?
Sadly, it was Method Man and Jizza.
That weren't there?
No, they were the ones that were there.
Oh, the one time I saw them live, Method Man was there.
Okay. And then it's just like, I was just wanted to be useful. I wanted to be helpful. And I love making stuff. So like, I love this. Even if we don't release this podcast, I'd be like, got to make something with Bruce today. That was cool.
No.
We should release it, obviously.
I've had that happen once. And that it was, it was
the darkest day for you.
It was a dark day to realize that my audio was set to, my computer microphone and not my studio microphones I got here. Yeah, that really hurt my feelings. Even telling the other person really hurt. It just like a gut punch.
Yeah, because you're like, we have to do that again. We want to make this organic, magical thing twice. You're like, oh God.
Yeah. I was like, all right, we're gonna give a few months. I'm gonna forget everything about you. Yeah. Then we're gonna circle back.
Right, because podcasters are curious. Like that's the number one thing. I love that. Like when I have people on my podcast, I just want to know about them. Like what's up? Like why?
That's exactly how I approach it too. It's like if I had you on again, we would just be talking. Like, I wouldn't be asking you about shit unless we would just be talking about stuff. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's awesome, man. You been watching any TV shows lately?
Dude, I'm more of a YouTube content guy.
Okay. What's your favorite YouTube? Like, what's in your subscriptions at the top? Like, who's?
Joe Rogan.
Okay.
No Jumper.
Yeah.
You know No Jumper is?
Yeah. Adam 22.
Yeah, Adam 22. Yeah. Gary Vaynerchuk.
Okay. Those are all podcasts I listen to, ironically. I don't watch the YouTube content.
Like they all have podcasts.
That's what you should do. I mean, if you have one camera, like you should produce both.
Well, that's what it is. It's like you have to operate in both fields. Like, and that's been my goal since I begun this whole thing. Is I want to operate like even for the podcast. I want to have the YouTube and the Instagram and the podcast, the whole sort of complement to it.
Totally.
God dang, it's about the storm out there.
Yeah, a little bit, dude. But just so people can have. Yeah,
I'll tell you what I was watching last night that did blow my mind. Before we wrap up here, I was watching. I don't know how this channel got to me. It's called like Resident Advisor. There's this thing in Japan called listening bars.
Okay.
So check this out. So it's a bar, of course.
Sure.
But the focus is on like high fidelity music.
Awesome.
And then they always have DJs, but the DJ isn't like the focal point and no one's like they're facing the DJ, like jumping and fist pumping. It's like an experience where you go there to chill, relax. They have this like crazy, beautiful speaker system, which is like also like top of the line.
Right.
And the DJ's like always spinning vinyl and it just sounds amazing. And it's like a whole vibe. And they're called listening bars because the emphasis is on like community and
high
having
fidelity.
A good time and just good sounding music and not necessarily like crazy ratchet stuff. It's like
do people talk, or are they just listening?
No. People talk, but it's like speakeasy meets like concert.
Okay,
like
so
like speakeasy vibes, like dim.
Yeah,
like Japanese style bar.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
But then like hip DJ.
Dude, I love that.
And like super hyped out. I'm like, this is a whole vibe that needs to be stolen and brought to America. It's
Dude, you ever meet like any guy who's into high fidelity audio? And I know it's just being a musician. Like, there's guys, you know, like for me, like, you know, I have one Sonos speaker, right? It's the one that has like Alexa in it, and you know, like, okay, cool, it sounds good. It's Sonos. That's like commercial, you know, level. But like, you meet anybody who's like an audiophile and they're like real into it, and not just like, is FLAC better than Wave? If they're like, oh god, if they got the speakers behind it, they're like, you need to come over to that person's house with another person. One, just to be safe, because a lot of them might be creepy. But two, listen to anything they play you. You know, just like, what's their favorite?
Anything on high fidelity? Like,
I've only been in one room in college. So my first two years in college, at being a music major, I took a lot of like sound reinforcement classes and stuff. And so I got to go to, I forget the name of the company, but it was a speaker factory that made like PA speakers and stuff like that. And they had a high fidelity like testing room. That was pretty cool. It was only for a few minutes, but the experience is really good. I found, even just searching for, I found that because of like our phones, and I like phones, both for photo, video, like I told somebody today they wanted to buy like a Canon Rebel, and I was like, bro, just get an iPhone. Just buy an iPhone X or whatever, iPhone 10. Because I'm like, the bottom of the market has been overtaken by smartphones. Like, just do that.
That's a great point. Unless you're actually trying to get that Rebel to practice.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you just want good photos, you're absolutely right. Get the iPhone 10.
Yeah, and you already feel comfortable with it. There's something about it, like
the low light's probably better anyways.
Dude, yeah. And people there's so many Canon, like T2s, Rebels, all this stuff, just sitting in people's like offices at their house because they felt intimidated. Like, they shot an auto and then they were like, okay, it doesn't feel cool. Like, and I feel they have their phone all the time, and the phone will shoot whatever. Anyway, I
actually read the story the other week about this guy who he put down his camera. He said, all right, I'm going to take photos for like 6 months using only my iPhone.
Yeah.
He edited it on iPhone. He had like Lightroom on his iPhone. He ended up getting some campaigns from it.
Right.
And they would even go to him like, yo, we want you to do something just like this. And he was like, hey guys, I use my iPhone. And they're like, yeah, that's cool. Just whatever you do, we want that.
What?
And so he legit made it work. And at the end of it, he was like, yeah, you know, it was cool. Like, it gave me a new perspective because it was always on me. He's like, I could shoot something everywhere and I could edit it. And I was like, but then he was also like, you know, I was missing a lot of features, and like low light was pretty tough, and he missed.
But it's getting better though. I'm
like, it's kind of scary.
Yeah. Do you know
this guy's getting gigs off of it?
Austin Mann?
No.
So he was like the first person to shoot like crazy, kind of Nat Geo vibe kind of stuff, but like landscapes, cool stuff. He'd go to another country, test out the new iPhone camera, and then he had a Connect. He'd always send it to Apple and just be like, hey, check this out. And they were always kind of like, meh, that's cool. And then the iPhone became, it's the most popular camera on Flickr, which I know Flickr's not like whatever, but it like tracks how many cameras are being used. So it's this very popular camera. And so now Apple's very interested in it. And he was the first one to have that like shot by iPhone billboard. There's this guy named Austin Mann.
Whoa.
And now that's a cultural thing. Like, you see these big photos and you're like, oh, Apple is basically, people are always like, you can't print photos from a phone. And Apple's like, nah, dog.
I have one of that same thing. It's like the side of a 10-story apartment complex. It's huge. It's an Apple photo. I'm like, I feel like it should be way more grainy than that.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely, some people did some work, but even Austin, like, I know for a fact, just because I know him a little bit, is like, he shot it with his real phone, and like, you know, they're big fans of like, this is not supposed to be an Apple podcast, but like shooting with the phone, having like other equipment around the phone and using the phone as like the central piece. You can make some really good stuff, man.
Dude, I always thought if Apple came out with a DSLR, I'd get it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm ready. I only upgrade now because of the battery. Like, I keep telling my wife, the iPhone XR, the colored ones, they have a matte black one, and that's my favorite like aesthetic. And I'm like, that's what I want. But I was like, I have a white glass, shiny, cracked iPhone right now because I want the real camera. Because other than my big DSLR, that's what I shoot on all the time. Like, my phone is my phone.
That's so true.
So,
what do you shoot on, by the way? What's your rig?
Right now, I've been Nikon for like 5 years.
Oh my god!
I know. I used to shoot Canon. I had 5D Mark IIIs. It was cool. I miss the lenses. But I shoot Nikon D850s, so they're like,
that's a nice camera though.
It's so great. It's a workhorse. It definitely feels like in your hand, you're not like, oh, this is a fun camera. Like, even the 5Ds, I was like, oh, this is fun. It feels nice. The menu's great. Nikon's like, here's this like the equivalent of a Hummer, like the car, the Hummer, in a camera. And they're like, yeah, it's tough. You can throw it. You can punch it in the face. But it's pretty great. And it's, and again, I have 2 of them, and I shoot. Last year we did 230,000 images in a year. So like
counted, huh?
Yeah, I mean, in my Lightroom, I make a Lightroom catalog for every year. So just so Lightroom runs faster. If you want tips, DM me because it can be slow. When you're doing high volume work, that's when you're pressing the limits of everything. Imagine shooting like. Again, I shoot 3,000 images a weekend, maybe on a low wedding.
Constantly juggling that storage.
Dude, I have a 160 terabyte server at home, and it's taken me years to like finesse that. And how does this work? How can I make sure this is like quick enough to like, oh, I need a photo from 2011, which doesn't happen often. But I'm a pack rat. Like I want to be able to look at old work, and like right now I'm in the process of redoing all my old landscape work from traveling because I never post that because most shoot weddings, right? But it's like. I've been to a few different countries, or my wife and I went to Curacao in April, and I'm like, oh, I want to post some cool landscape stuff. And so I have a personal account now that like I deleted all the posts off of, and I'm like starting fresh with like, I'm just having fun.
I want to do that too, like just like my own personal shit post photography page.
Dude, just do it. Yeah.
Bruce Allen personal, all my film stuff, anything I want.
Totally.
I've been feeling so limited by the gram.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. But anyways, man, dude, we should try to wrap this up soon.
We should.
Because I think I got a guest coming soon. And is that a boat pulling up? My God. Oh, it's just rain. Anyways. Yeah. Dude, thank you so much for coming on, dude.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure. I love it.
This has been super cool sitting and chatting with you, man.
I love it. Anytime with my studio mates, man.
Hell yeah. And guys, please check him out on Instagram. It's Mason Photography, right?
Yeah. Come say hi.
Boom. Check out in the description if you want. Definitely should. That's it. That's the angle. Peace out. I said, no, I just gotta stop.
Dude, I love it. No.
Yeah, hell yeah, brother. That's fucking sick.
Dude, I love it, man. Thank you so much. This room, too.